Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to another Ask the Trainer live stream. And yeah, I'm here today with my friends Noseman and Hashi. How are you doing, guys?
Doing very well. Good to see you, Jonas. Good to see you, Jonas. Noseman.
Yeah, and yeah, today we will go through questions that you asked. We have another cool thing to show. But before we do that, I'm going to take care of the housekeeping. So let me bring up my screen. Here we go. So there is a link in the chat soon. And there's also a QR code that you can see here. And if you scan this QR code using your device or copy paste the link into your browser, you will get to this lovely site that has a lot of stuff on it. Yeah, the link to the Maxon events page, free t-shirts, Maxon training team on YouTube, Cineversity, but also the Ask Your Question for Ask the Trainer form that you can use to ask questions when we are not live. Right now, you can ask them in the chat. One thing we would love to ask you is that you start your question with a capitalized question so that we can distinguish them easier from all the other comments. And yeah, let me just go to the events page here, because here you can see a lot of great stuff that is coming up. A lot of live streams like Create with Maxon next week. Also next week, we have a creative projects with Maxon 1, Adobe Substance, and After Effects stream, which is quite cool. I will do that with Now Wow. And yeah, there are a lot more things coming up here. So definitely check them out. And then, of course, you know that you can rewatch everything we do here on the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel. So definitely check that out if you came in late, or if you want to catch up with something or watch it again. Definitely, this is the place to go. Also, Cineversity, whenever you want to learn one of our wonderful applications, go here and have a look at the Getting Started series. And there's also a lot of other more in-depth learning content. Other than that, we always want to thank you, and we give away free t-shirts. So also from the landing page that I showed first, you can go to this site, and you need to enter a passcode. And let me bring this up quickly. This month, it's Easy Motion Graphics. So you type
nice
in, and then you can order one t-shirt for free, and you will only have to pay for the shipping. Yeah, and with that being said, I mean, I think Noseman had a question.
Yes, I have a question, and I hope everyone forgives me, but yeah, I'm one of the people running the show, so I can do this. There's a bit of buzz going on around the last few days about something called Maxon Studio. What is that?
I have heard word of this, actually.
Yeah, what is that about?
Do you mean this by any chance?
Ooh. Hey, look at that right there.
There's a website about it.
There's a website about it.
Yeah. on the Maxon website, look at this. What is it? Maxon Studio is an After Effects template engine, an intuitive interface available to Regina Maxon.
Okay, that's a lot of information. So I
That sounds cool.
What would be really helpful is just a straightforward description of what this thing is.
Absolutely.
Now, obviously, the website clearly has information right there. Also on Cineversity, and I believe on YouTube now, Chad Perkins did an amazing walkthrough of exactly what Maxon Studio is. And I believe that right now I actually have it pulled up on my screen in case people would like to kind of see what it is like.
All right, I'm going to switch to your screen then. There we go.
Hey, looky here. So this is a really exciting announcement specifically for After Effects users, or for editors who are being asked increasingly to do more graphic things and don't really love After Effects, but know that that's where a lot of things come in. Maxon Studio is basically this lovely always updating library of a bunch of cool templates and effects and transitions and titles and things like that. Right now, it's available if you go to your Maxon app. It'll be a new thing right there under the red giant twirl down. And as you can see, there's all these crazy cool effects. And what's neat about them is these aren't After Effects projects per se. So it's not something where you need to have communicated what is, like what are the details, what format are we editing in. These are basically instructions to get After Effects to create any of these templates for you right within the program. So let me show you an example of that. What's fun about this is I could actually just dock it right here. So I could have a little window right here. And the UI for this is really nicely done. It's made, and so it responds really well to being resized or docked, small if you need it. But let's say I were in this new project here. I'll create a new composition, and I'll say the show that I'm working on is in HD 24 frames per second or something like that. I can create this new comp right here, and I might know that I want some kind of dynamic background on it. So all of these assets are being pulled in right now from our online library, which is really cool. So if you hover over them, you can see a little preview of any weird little template like this that you like. I'm kind of digging, kind of like, oh gosh, there are so many to pick from. I'm going to go with.
If I may ask you something, Hashi, can you please hide this sharing your screen notification?
I wasn't aware that was sharing.
Thank you.
Look, absolutely. I didn't know I was sharing my screen. No, actually, I like this one right up top. If you click on it, you can see these are some details on it. This is the looped background. These are all designed, or I think almost all designed by Candy Mustache, who did a really cool job. And I love that because there was a lot of thought behind the artfulness of them all. But you find anything in the library, and then you just press apply. And I have not downloaded this one yet, but it'll quickly download it from the server. And now you can see that in this comp that I chose the size for is this looped background. I can go right ahead to playing it, and it moves and is right there. And that's lovely. So, but this is not just stock footage, really. If I went over to here in my Maxon Studio tab, which again is a window that you could be floating somewhere, this right here are the capsules that you have applied anywhere in your After Effects project. So in this case, I've applied this looped background one, and there are several controls exposed for it. So I can choose the two colors for the gradient here. So I'm usually bad at doing something like this because of my color blindness, but so that's why I'm happy that it comes in nicely to begin with. I could choose some color, and it'll get pumped right into the template. And so I can say, gosh, that's horrid.
So this is basically an After Effects composition that has controls exposed, right?
Exactly. And as I minimize this window, I can make it smaller and just have just the controls exposed, which is kind of nice. Or if I drag it out, I can see which capsules I've applied overall to my whole project. And you'll see that what's neat about this is it's not bogged down with a whole lot of other things. It's just the things that the designers wanted you to be able to have access to. So I can feather this out. I can turn the opacity of the striped pattern down.
May I interject?
Set these colors. Absolutely.
Yeah, you said the designers. So is this just a finite collection that Maxon decides, or can we make our own templates with our brand colors, with our own stuff?
That is a fantastic question. In the current build, which again, I say current, knowing that the library is continuously being updated. So as new templates are created, they'll appear there from Maxon and from the people we had create this initial group. And in its current build, you cannot create your own yet. Currently yet. I'm very meticulously saying that in this exact version, you cannot save templates, but you can customize them to your heart's desire to create any kind of ridiculous eye straining thing that you'd like.
And we're not allowed to talk about future features, of course.
Naturally not.
Yeah.
But even in its current build, what's really cool is, say I loved this background a lot. Actually, I'll go back to its controls and maybe I'll turn down the opacity of this so it's a little more subtle. There we go. What if I was also an editor who doesn't really know how to do all these keyframes and ridiculous things in After Effects, but maybe I know that I want some kind of title to pop in. How about, let's see, there are, you know what, in fact, if I'm back up here at the top, I'm actually browsing everything right now. But when I first click to discover up top, you can see that there are selections for all together, which is what I'm showing. Or you could say text. I want to add text now, and it'll show you all of the text ones. You can also filter right here to show different ones that you want to use. And let's say I just wanted to do, ooh, that's slick, a little chromatic transition right there with a title. So I can click on this and I can say, yeah, I like it. I'm going to apply it. I'm staying in the same comp, and you'll see that everything just got applied right within this same comp, my 1920 by 1080 comp. Now this came in and it says, you know, full screen like that. And obviously you want that to be editable, which again is right here under your controls right here. You can see that I have 2 capsules applied to this, and they come in the form of these 2 pre-comps right here, a looped background and big title right there. And they're also mirrored right here. So for the title, I might want to say something like ask the screen. I like that. Ask the trainer live demo, something like that. So you can modify the text right here. I could adjust the scale and tweak the position of these a little bit to my heart's content. And then I noticed that, yeah, you can't see the cool background that I just created, but if I twirl down some of these, I can see that back here for the, let's see, where are we?
I think this one doesn't have the
Did I happen to choose one that is, oh,
yes.
I chose a silly one. So if you run into this situation, what's really cool is if you're an After Effects user and you're like, that's silly, I should be able to turn off the background. I have great news for you. This big title here is just a pre-comp right here full of everything that goes into making this stylized animation. Look at that. It's slick. It's got some chromatic aberration and everything. But it is an After Effects project. And I know that the background is just right here. And then I could turn that off and then come back over here. So I could see that come in on top like that, which is pretty cool.
Perfect. And I think if you would enable the, oh, you just did the sun.
Yeah, if I wanted effects from one of these capsules to apply in front of one that it's above, I can go over to the collapse transformation switch and turn that on. And now I beautifully have, you know, ask the trainer. It's being comped in front of the background that I chose, and now the background is going for the same warp transition that the title is, and so everything comes together with this really cool thing.
That is really cool.
So that is basically what Maxon Studio is. It's this lovely window where you can discover all sorts of backgrounds, motion graphics, effects, transitions, and background patterns that you can just grab from this ever-expanding library, throw in, customize with any of the customizable settings here. So you can set them to your show colors or your brand colors and have something like this nice and ready to go, which is really fun.
So this is like GarageBand, but for motion graphics, but a bit better, because in this version, you can't make your own.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like I think that this, you know,
I love this comparison.
Dramatically improved by this. So what's I think is really fun is you can grab it right now with your Maxon app, add Maxon Studio to everything. You can browse through the library, see what types of effects you like, see what it's like to be able to apply them, and also be able to control them simply from this window. I can set all of the settings for both these background colors and all the title and text colors in this lovely little window right here. Play through them and have them affect each other, which is really fun.
That's too easy, though. I mean, it's cheating now. Which
Well, what's fun? Like, I love cheating. I feel like cheating is the whole idea of getting good at a technology is so you can cheat at things that are more difficult for other people.
But no visual
for
effects were
example,
used.
I mean,
no
like,
visual effects were used for this, right?
None. No, this is
No.
all practical. Well, what's really cool is that, like, you still, if you're an After Effects person, the After Effects project exists here. But this isn't just an After Effects project that you have to, save and you need to know all of the properties of and be working on the show timeline or whatever. All of these things got imported respecting whatever comp I started with. So if I'm saying like this comp was, if I wanted something in 4K, I could have loaded the exact same template. It'll load in and be properly sized to my 4K. Currently, this library is full of a bunch of 16:9 templates, which we knew would be, for our standard editors who are used to editing all day, but they need to be able to quickly throw together something colorful. They're likely editing in 16:9, but as we've said, this library will always be expanding with different ways to do things, different ratios and different effects and things like that.
So let me ask about this version. So in this version, you cannot put an After Effects project together and then expose the parameters and create your own templates, right? You can't do
Correct.
that in this version.
Like in the past, if like say we did have this, and this is how you wanted to do your titles on a show that you're working on, you'd usually save and export this whole file, send the file to somebody. And now once you dive into it, it means you have to go and say, well, the titles are all over here in this comp. And so if you want to change the text, go to layer 7. That's probably one of these things. And one of the things that is similar and a neat functionality built into After Effects are the Essential Graphics panel. And the whole idea of those is to be able to try to push forward things like source text all the way into your final comp. So you could just edit it here instead of having to dive into the pre-comps. But there are some limitations that come with that when you're using Essential Graphics. They have to be set up specifically for your show or for whatever. And also it means that whatever shared project file you have needs to be modified if there's anything else going on with it. Like if you go in and modify a pre-comp, but the frame rate is wrong, all of the nested pre-comps and everything, even if linked by Essential Graphics, are no longer communicating with each other. So what I like about this is that it's so, like you said, Noseman, it's super easy. And so it just happens.
So it's respecting the comp's resolution and the frame rate as well.
Exactly. But still plays beautifully and is really cool to see the collapsed transform apply from one to the other. So like just seeing them layered up like that is really exciting to me. I like that.
Very cool.
So yeah, hopefully this can serve as a nice gateway drug if you're or what should I say? Maybe a starter kit if you're an editor and want to I keep on harping on editors. I don't mean to, but just if you don't love After Effects but you're aware of what it could do, this is a really great way to browse through a bunch of things that look slick, are nicely designed, and if you wanted to learn more about them, they all came in as pre-comps, and you could look in here and see that it's a pre-comp with a bunch of little
they
properties and keyframes and everything like
really
that.
Clever way, yeah.
But if you don't want to deal with all that, you just know you want a background and a title right here, and they work together. And there are so many other ones you can choose from. And knowing that you can customize any of the colors on these, sometimes the size or the scale of the effect or whatever, that's kind of something you could do. I can double check if you two have anything you want to talk about in the meantime. I don't want to monopolize this time, but
we have stuff.
It's so new. Yeah,
take your time.
How about, let's see, I need to load in a couple pieces of footage. Let me see what I have that might be suitable for such a thing. Let's go to, I feel like I was grabbing random bits of footage the other day for our, maybe something else.
We're
Goodness.
taking a sneak peek into your.
You can see all of my how my scary set of folders in here, which are.
I would be very worried if there was order in there. I would.
But I can use the time. Wait, I can use the time.
Sure, go for it. I'm gonna set up something, and
Yeah.
and you can come back.
To go back to the Maxon events page here, and next week on Monday we have the second week of Create with Maxon, and it's about easy motion graphics with Red Giant, and we're gonna have Alex on the show, and Alex is the product manager of Maxon Studio, so he will also show you even more stuff that you can do with Maxon Studio.
Oh, that's perfect. Alex is wonderful.
Alex is wonderful indeed. So I'm going to share your screen again.
Sure. All right. So I just grabbed 2 pieces of footage and I've thrown them into their own comp. I'll just call this for transitions. Just 2 pieces of stock footage. I have this one of this girl in a hammock, and then this one of someone. They're playing the virtual game of Hammock Simulator, I think. And so obviously there are several ways to do transitions. If you're in your editing program, there are several built in. But also Universe has a handful of really cool transitions, but you need to apply them to one, set a layer to be transitioned from or to. And what I like about this little library right here in Maxon Studio of transitions is you can hover over any to kind of see what types of transitions are available. Obviously, some kind of digital looking thing might be good to go between these two. So I'll grab this one right here. You can see just another little UI thing to mention is that all of these are previewing for you, but you can download them like this. And so by clicking on that, and then you see a little check mark to say, like, now it's downloaded this one from the cloud. If you want it to be able to show up in your favorites, you could give it a little heart. If you're like, oh, I'm going to use that a bunch, I'll put it right there. So that way, when I start up Maxon Studio, it has all of my favorite things right there that I usually apply. But over here in this random composition that is whatever dimensions these pieces of footage were, the comp was created from them. So it's a 23976. I'll just double click on this or press plus on that. And you'll see this little extra layer appeared in my comp right here. And this little layer has a marker in it called transition. And all I've got to do is drag this piece right here to line up with the point where my cut happens. And if I hold down the shift key, it'll actually snap to there because of this. Actually, sorry, if I move my indicator there and then hold down the shift key, I can snap it right to there. So now you can see I have my piece of footage, and then the transition happens right between the two. And I didn't have to select anything. I just needed to position this transition right over top of it, and it's all set to go. Which is that's a really neat way to be able to apply a transition effect. It seems simpler to me than thinking you have to apply it to this piece of footage, sourcing another piece of footage, or this piece, sourcing another. You just drag and drop this to wherever you want the cut to happen. And if I put it over here, I think that all it would do is just it would apply this weird glitch effect within this same piece of footage. So it's pretty cool. A very dynamic way to apply transitions. But yeah, please do watch Chad Perkins' amazing walkthrough of all of these features, and then definitely join Alex Andrew as he does a much more competently explained description of how all of these work. But that's what I got. That's what I got.
That's very cool. Yeah, Alex is going to be on Create with Maxon next Monday and the Monday after. So definitely check that out. All right. So yeah, thank you, Hashi, for the. I wouldn't say it was a low dive. It was also not like the super deep dive. It was like the semi deep dive. But
yeah, semi deep. Like you could go use this right now.
Yeah. So it's part of Maxon 1 and part of Red Giant Complete. So if you have one or the other, then you can use Studio already. All right. So let me add my screen here. So there were a few questions, and as you know, we're promoting that every time we have this nice landing page with the form for questions, and we're getting questions quite often, quite regularly, actually multiple every day. And there was one question about creating a water drop effect that can be controlled. So somebody wanted to know, hey, can I make a water drop that is somehow behaving dynamically, but is still controllable? And here's an approach that you could use for that. There are multiple ways of doing that. I tried achieving this with the new particle system inside of Cinema 4D, as you can see here. So let me recreate this from scratch. And I'm going to start with a particle emitter. First, I'm going to go to my particles layout. That's something that I created here for myself. That has the emitters, the groups, the conditions, all the modifiers and forces here. Other than that, it's similar to the standard layout, but I'm going to create a basic emitter, and I'm going to set this in the emission tab to shape sphere, and I'm going to make this, let's say, 50 by 50 by 50. And yeah, pretty happy with that. Let's go to the properties and let's have a look here. So I want the lifetime to be, let's say, 45 or so with a, well, let's say 60 with a little bit of variation. So let me, do 10 frames variation. Then speed is actually okay. I want a little bit of speed variance as well to make it look more natural. It's always good to add some variance. It's always creating more natural looking effects. Then the alignment, I'm gonna set, the direction I'm gonna set to, no, the velocity direction, that's okay. Let me set the direction here to random, but also at the emitter velocity. And I think then, let me move this around. Yeah, that works. So particles are already following the speed of the emitter. All right, so that's cool. I'm also gonna adjust the radius, but I'm not gonna do that here, but in the particle group. Let me first draw the radius. Now we can see the radii of each particle, and I'm gonna add a data mapper. I'm gonna hold down the Shift key while I'm creating it because I have the particle group selected, and this will make it a child when you create it.
I didn't know that. Does that work for everything? Probably.
Yes. Whenever you create,
like
here, null, you can create this. And the other way around is also possible. So I can hold down the Alt key, and this will create parents.
I'm always impressed by the stupidest small tips that are just improvements to workflow, and I didn't know that.
The funny thing is that when I held down the Shift key, I was like, does Hashi know that? So cool. Now you know. All right, so I have the data mapper here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to map the H percentage. Lower in is 0, upper in is 100, and the lower out and upper out, let's say they are 0 and 100. Oh, there's something interesting happening here. Or maybe that's because of the speed. Let me see here, velocity direction. I'm gonna set this to random as well. Does that, up vector. Do we need an up vector here? No. Noseman, help me.
What is not going well? What are you trying to do? I'm trying to figure out what is your expectation. Select the data mapper.
Yeah. So, oh, right. Yeah. I found my mistake here. I found my mistake. Data mapper. I didn't map it to the radius yet. So that's okay.
Let's see. Just ask the question and the answer will reveal itself.
Yeah. I'm gonna right click here, use the linear spline preset, and here now you can see that it's starting at 0 and going up to 100. I want this to be exactly the other way around. So I'm going to flip horizontal. And now
or
I
you
have
can change
this.
the values if you want. Yeah.
Sorry?
Just in case anyone is wondering, or you can change the values in the upper and lower out. So you make it 100 to 0. Yeah.
I'm also going to put this a little bit in here in, and then I'm going to control click here and add another point here so that they are starting small, becoming big, and then becoming smaller again. And now all you need to do is you use the particle group and throw that into a volume builder. So again, I hold down the Alt key, click the volume builder, and there we go. Now we have little volumes. In the particle group, I'm gonna say use particle size. And now it's gonna use this. And yeah, I can move the emitter around and you can see this bubbly stuff happening.
Ship it.
That's a cool, like MoGraph cloud character thing. It's the smoke monster from the animated Lost series.
Yeah, but the challenge is to make this look a little bit more watery, because right now it's blobby, right? And there is a thing that you can do inside the volume builder to make these shapes look more watery. And the first thing you need to do is to smooth the input. So I'm going to add a smooth filter. And if I have a look at this, maybe we just need voxel distance 1. So now you can see that it's all a little bit smoother. And then let me create the volume measure here. So you can see it's not looking really watery. Let me just see if we can use the voxel range threshold to just move this in and create sharper edges. No, that doesn't look as good as the other way.
You know what I would do? I would add a displacer to the mesh with some sort of swimming noise. Because then as it moves, it's going to create this sense of ripple.
But another thing you can do is you can add another filter here in the volume builder, the Dilate and Erode, and just offset the whole surface to the negative. And this will create, let me see. This will create these sharper edges in areas where it's going out. All right, let me make the particle group invisible and let's move the emitter again. So now you can see all this stuff. It's very controllable, not as controllable as I would like it to be. So I'm going to bring down the emitter velocity, add emitter velocity here in the particle emitter. And now.
That is so cool. Hashi, I want you to make something disgusting with this.
Oh, I'm thinking about it already.
There you go.
Yeah.
You can even trace some of these, and you can have another particle system that moves.
Yeah.
You can trace points, and then you can mesh those and create streaks in between. Oh, the stuff you can do.
But I am such a big fan of volume meshed particles. They're just they're so fun.
Yes, it should be renamed to Slime Maker or something like that.
I mean, if you render that with a cool redshift material just in front of any background, that'll look really, really cool. And also it has
we can do
so
that.
many organic properties that
movies have won Academy Awards just by doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm just doing it here, right?
And the award goes to.
So okay, yeah, let's try this. Let's let's go to my standard layout. Well, not my standard layout, everyone's standard layout. And let's add a material here. We can just, well, we do the simplest water material ever by just bringing up the transmission to 100% or to 1 and the reflection roughness to 0, and apply this to the volume measure, of course. And we're going to create a backdrop. Oh, look, this is a very big water drop. Let's make the backdrop huge. Something like that. And of course, whenever we want to render something that has reflections and refractions and stuff, it is always a good idea to start with a dome light and to create a texture for the dome light.
No,
in case you didn't know.
Wait, that feels like so many steps.
Yeah, I just remembered while I was trying to show it. So what you can do is you just drag and drop the HDR in here and it will automatically create a dome light for you, which is fantastic.
Handy. What if you changed your mind and you wanted a different one? Then what? Then you've got to definitely go back into the properties, right?
Yeah, or you just create
the
another one.
Or just drag an image in the name.
That.
Nice. So you can have
replace it. I feel like I did something that replaced it, and I was like, "Oh, perfect."
All right. So now let me bring up the Redshift render view, and let's see if that will work immediately.
Why wouldn't it?
Why wouldn't it? There we go.
There you go. And the Academy Award goes to...
Let's see. Wait. Let me do this. Yeah, and because this is particles, we can... Oh, this is looking really cool. I love it. Let me just...
Look at that. You could, with like one more, afternoon worth of work, just ship this out to Smart Water, and suddenly you're an amazing... you've created an amazing advertising campaign. Look at that.
Yeah, let me bring down the reflection of the background a little bit.
Carried away. Yes, you're getting carried away.
We're getting carried away, absolutely.
It's very easy to get lost.
Yeah. We can make a poll if people want to watch us being carried away or if we should continue.
There's a show for that, I think, tomorrow. Every tomorrow, there's a show for that where people just get carried away.
That is true. It just happens to not be on tomorrow. We're in our season break. But I'm here proving that I'm not just
that's why you're here. That's why you're here. So no VFX
I'm usually
tomorrow.
Meticulously recreating Benny the Cab's undercarriage or something like that at this hour before our show. But here I am learning Redshift from Jonas and Noseman.
Lovely. Can I answer some of the questions quickly in the chat because you're getting carried away, Jonas?
Yeah, I have another question that I can answer.
Just the quick ones. Just the quick ones. And I'm just going to show, is it possible to loop particles by Abhishan? We don't have a direct way of doing it. Looping generally, other than noises, structured stuff, which you can loop, there is no way. You can use methods to loop stuff. You create a stream and then you overlap it the same way you would create a visual loop and so forth. But there's no automatic way because it doesn't really make sense to loop particles the way particles work. So the answer is not automatically, but there are ways to do it depending on what you're trying to do. If you have anything, contact us on, let's go here. Where's the thing that says it's in banners? Let me quickly pull it up. There you go. Yeah, you can find us on Twixer. You can ask the question. You can DM me. My DMs are open. Send me some sort of sample or what you're trying to do, and we will fit it in a show or something like that. So that was that question. Quickly. Let me turn this off. I'm going to show the include exclude particles that Dynamic is asking later on. Andreas Walsh, looks like the movie Akira. What I want to say here, that my comment is, anyone that watched it when it was first introduced, please identify yourselves, because we have the same geriatric issues, I would guess. So I did watch it in the 90s in London. Yeah. And my friend and brother Dustin, we need to catch up. Yes.
Dustin,
Hi, Dustin.
what's up?
So what else do we have here? Okay. Take the screen, continue what we have to say, and then I have a few things to say.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, just quickly, somebody also using that form asked if there is a way to, so when you have a texture mapping, to really make sure that a texture is tiled the correct way. So I had a look here, for example, at the brick wall textures, and I just added this one here, and it already has the 200 centimeters in there. So the brick wall textures is meant to be like on a, well, the texture is the same as 2 meters. But if you have a texture that is not here from the asset browser and you created it on your own, let me just use the same example and just add the brick wall texture here. And by the way, this also just works. I drag and drop this into the material manager, and it will create a Redshift material with the texture applied. And the reason I'm not getting previews is because I deactivated previews. So this is the default. All right. So what if you want to make sure that this material that is now looping here, let me see, where's the texture? There should be a texture.
I have to say, I did answer directly to that user. I asked him to contact me on Twitter, and I sent him an example.
Okay.
But it's good information for people to know anyway.
Instant help.
Wait.
We are so good at this, replying to people and making people's lives easier.
You should consider going into something like this.
I'm collecting karma points because of my name, Athanasius. I'm going to live for 1,000 years. I need a lot of karma to, survive everything else. The more you live, the more chances you have of finding yourself in an unfortunate situation. So yeah, karma. That's where I invest.
Also to find yourself in a fortunate situation. So let me show this to you. So I'm going here. Right now we are in UVW mapping. Let's put that to flat. So there is a coordinates tab in the material tag. And many people just oversee that because they just think like, okay, cool, let's just adjust the tiling here, for example, or do whatever in here. But there is a coordinates tab. And this coordinates tab is telling you that this texture at this point in time is being projected onto like a 1 meter by 1 meter square. And you can see that if you go to texture mode. So this is the texture size here. If you want this to be bigger, you just type in 200, for example. Now you know that the texture is exactly like 200 centimeters high, and the other way around. So this is a perfect way of doing that. And that's actually everything that I wanted to show.
Fantastic. And you can count the bricks and say a brick is 10 centimeters deep, 20 centimeters wide, and 5 centimeters tall. So you can fit 20 of those in 1 meter, and you count how many you have in your tile, and yeah, there you go. You have proper bricks.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, let's get on with some of the questions. Are you okay? Shall I grab the screen from you?
I'm going to throw it at you. There you go.
Oh, my screen. I can see my screen everywhere. So this is a question from Elizabeth I got from my direct messages. And it was actually, like every other question, a very good question. And it was, I want to grow some sort of flowers or something like that using particles. So I want the particles to sort of grow and randomly ease out. You can see that these particles are sort of easing out their speed and then just stop. So I can,
Mm.
and you can create this with as many particles as you want, and you're going to get sort of a random distribution. Now, the great thing with this is that you can use many methods to clone things on this, or make them wiggle with if you go and get a turbulence force or something like that. But the difficulty, so to speak, and the question was about how do I randomly make these different lengths and stop at different times and stop working at different times. You can see that the particles are vanishing. And the setup is fairly simple. I mean, the tracer is whatever it is, just traces the particles. So here I'm shooting 12 particles. And what I'm doing here in the condition is I want to start the process of slowing them down after 30 frames, because that was the requirement. I want them to grow constantly up to 30 frames and then start slowing down. Now, the basic emitter here, one of the tricks is to vary the speed. And because the speed is varying, then in that 1 second, different particles have moved at different distances. So you get this initial randomization. And it's a simple concept, but if you don't know it, it may be difficult to come to that conclusion. So the first randomizing factor is the speed. Now, over here, I'm telling it that, okay, once you've lived for 30 frames, then let's start slowing down. Now, the slowdown happens with a math, and we don't have, we can use the friction. So let's reproduce this here because it's quite interesting what we can do. So I'm going to go and emit my 12 particles, shoot my 12 particles with my speed of like 50 and 25 spread. Fantastic. And you can see they go in these particular speeds. So let's just get this and recreate the tracer. There you go. So now we see these lines here. Now, after 30 frames, we go here and we say condition. So when it's greater than 30 frames, and that's the age, which is the most used of all the properties for these kind of things, I want to start slowing down. Now, what you can do with the math is the following. We are trying, what defines the speed? Well, the speed is the velocity speed. And what you can do, you can multiply it, and this will multiply it with a value every frame. And if you set this to, okay, let's multiply the speed by 0.95, every frame, the speed of these particles is going to become 95% of the previous one. So it's going to go slower and slower and slower and slower and slower. And you can see they're going quite slow. Now, if you want to add more randomness to this for whatever reason, instead of putting a value of 95, which will slow them down at equal rates, although they're going at different speeds, the rate of slowdown is going to be the same. But Elizabeth asked me if you can vary this. Well, yes, you use a value of 1, which will retain their speed. And we're going to add randomness through the field. So add a random field here. And this random field, we know that fields generate, and I think we can go to the, where's my view settings, right? So this is sort of the noise we are creating in this particular case. And you can go to your field and change the scale. So this is the noise. Wherever it's red, the value is 0. Wherever it's white, the value is 1. So what I can do is I can multiply these values based on the position of each particle with those values over here. So that's why I have this as 1. Whenever a particle happens to be in a part of the noise which is white, then it's going to retain its speed, because 1 times 1 equals 1. But if it is in an area where the value of the field is less than 1, that is going to reduce the speed. But whenever multiplying it more than 1, that means that the particles are never going to accelerate. They're only going to decelerate. And if you want to change the rate of deceleration, you just go to the remapping and make sure that your maximum value is not 100%. So it's always less than 1. And the closer these two numbers are, you're changing the rate of the slowdown. So now each particle is going to slow down at pretty much different rates. And you can animate the random field if you wish to do so, just to give some movement there and so forth. So you just need to tweak the numbers. If you see here, it's not this one, it's not this one. Oh, here it is. You will see here that I've tweaked some of the remapping numbers, 86 and 100%. Yeah, I think I overcompensated. So 100% and 86, and this should cause some more variation. Now, the last thing you need to do if you want to get rid of those particles, otherwise they're going to stay there forever, you can also put another condition. Let me just put this here, another condition that actually says, and this condition is going to be executed after the initial one. And you can say if the velocity speed is less than, let's say, 5 centimeters per second, which is a very small speed. You can put 1 when it's close to 0, although they will stop. You can just kill the particles. So now when we approach a speed which is very close to 0, the particles are going to, there you go, are going to die. So this is a method of creating these kind of randomizations, and using a math with the field, or with a data mapper with the field and so forth, you can create these random variations with your particles. So yeah, I already sent a sample scene to Elizabeth, but I wanted everyone to know about this. Okay, let's there was another question about Alembic and saving Alembic. Now the problem here was that the particular user is emitting a single particle and tracing this particle, and this particle creates, right, you can see there's a line, excellent, and we're creating a volume measure from that tracer. Now, if you try to export the volume measure as an Alembic, in most cases, I think it won't work. The best thing to do when you're creating Alembic files and you just want the mesh is to subordinate everything as a child of a connect object. And this is your mesh. This now you can bake as Alembic and delete. So I'm going to do this, and that's it.
So you switched off the weld, right?
I did switch off the weld, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
In most cases, well, here the mesh here is changing polygon count. That's why you get the white icon and not the green one, and you can't interpolate. When the point count changes, you cannot interpolate because the object starts with different numbers of polygons. So the weld in that particular situation doesn't really make a difference. But if you're doing a setup and saving as Alembic where you want to retain the polygon count, the best advice is that you make sure the connect has the weld turned off, because otherwise, when 2 points find themselves closer than this threshold, they're going to be welded. Thus, it's going to break the ability to have a interpolating Alembic. But in any case, the solution is just to put it under a connect object, and you are done. Okay, let's see. What else do I have here? Now, I have some bad news. And there was a question about if we have an animated object, let's say this cube that is being deformed, right? So this is a deformed cube. Hi, I like doing that. And you're emitting particles from this group. We have in the mesh emitter and various other settings, the add emitter velocity, this thing here in the properties. This only applies to the matrix of the object. So if this is moving, and when we are emitting, well, that is moving. So I have to go and do a constant. So this is where this is going to make the particles move. But unfortunately, it does not take into account the fact that we are bending. So it doesn't take the velocity of the surface. Now, there's some workarounds we can do. We can stick them on emission and immediately switch them to another group. Well, when we emit particles at 0 velocity and turn the stick on, what it's going to do is the particle is going to stick to the surface. So that's a cool thing to do. And the other thing you could do then is switch them to another group. Let's turn this on. And you can say something like, okay, if their life is above 3, you do that because if you don't have this condition, the particles are going to fly away upon emission. There's some sort of conflicts in there. And I'm testing the velocity. Now, funny enough, although the particles don't appear to be moving on their own volition, they are actually moving. So the fact that they're stuck on the surface and going back and forth does add some velocity to them. So what I can do is check if this velocity is above a certain threshold. And that's why what you're seeing here, you're seeing these red particles becoming more bright because I've selected the condition. It will give me, when the condition is selected, it will highlight the particles that satisfy this condition. It's an amazing sort of troubleshooting technique. And then I can tell them to unstick. So when they exceed that velocity. So you can use methods like this, maybe collide, maybe follow surface or something like that to achieve something like this. But as it stands currently, we don't have an automatic way for the particles to assume the speed of the velocity of the emitter's surface. So that is as far as this can go. You can do certain things, but you need to add more controls about it. What else do we have here? Let me quickly go through the list of. Let's see. If you have something to say, I'm going through the list here because there are some answered questions.
Yeah, I start some of the comments. Well, one thing I want to say is that Andreas called you the eternal good guy.
Yeah.
The eternal good guy. Yeah, you can say that. you can say
Comma
that.
points.
So yeah, always. Just mention my friend Scott. I replied on Twixer. Please post a scene because I got the scene, but I don't understand the question. So we can talk about it after the show. Let's see. What else do I have? Okay.
Here's one. Can we include exclude forces in the new particle system?
Can we do so? Which one is it?
Wait, let me show it.
Yes, please.
There we go.
Oh, yes. And I have the answer right here. So, although not directly, including forces, yes. So let's do an example. So we have one basic emitter here and one basic emitter there. So we have two basic emitters. So this is 2 and this is 1. And we want to apply a certain force only to one of them. Well, applying one is very simple. You just apply your force to a group if you want it only to affect one of them. Now, the question here becomes, what if I have a force which I want to affect pyro, but I don't want it to affect particles? So let's test this out. Let me delete this for a second. Let's get a sphere, make it smaller, put it in the middle, and add a pyro emitter. Excellent. Now, I want this smoke here to blow, I don't know, that way. So I'm going to go and create a wind. Good. And I'm going to increase its power and play with these and totally destroy the simulation and go. There you go. But now my particles are also reacting to this. So the question becomes, how do I exclude the wind from the particles? Well, it's not a direct method, but it is a method, and it's simple. You create a particle group that has no particles, and you name it. Put your forces here if you don't want to, whatever, okay? And you just put the
Famous
force
Yoda quote.
So if you do this, because the wind now is only applied to this particles group, which doesn't have any particles, it will be excluded from the others. So we don't have a direct way, but this is a simple way to do it. You just create.
Here's one thing that I never tried, but maybe you can try it.
Yeah.
What if you select the wind?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. No.
Now you could use different simulation scenes, all right? another way, but then your scenes won't interact. You can say, let's create a simulation scene. And the way particles work is that if you subordinate all your stuff under the simulation scene, which is another one, then what will happen is make sure in the simulation scene that the force is not added, and then you're going to have the same effect. But if I wanted to have the forces of this smoky thingy, medullary thing, affect my particle system using, let's say, a pirate vect in the simulation scene, when it will not affect it because the two simulations now are running totally independent of each other. In that case, the particle group tricky thingy, which is always called put your particle group here and all that, this then would work because everything is running in the same simulation. And my particles are going to be advected by the smoke. There you go, pushing them.
I have another question.
Yes, sir.
Can you open up the simulation settings?
The simulation settings.
Yeah.
I'm pressing Control D, and I'm going to simulation scene settings. Yes.
So there's the force, the wind force is applied. What if you throw it out here?
Delete it from here.
Yeah.
But this applies to my pyro as well. I want it to affect my pyro.
Yeah, but pyro has another forces.
No, it won't be included. Anything you want the GPU to include needs to be here. Plus,
right, because this
I
is
don't
the
even
full
think
simulation
you can't
scene.
delete it. You can't delete this.
Hmm.
You right click, you select it. You can do all sorts of things here, but you can't amend this. This is automatic. Unless you have your own simulation scene, which you can add it and subtract it and all that.
Yep.
So I hope this was useful. Now, let's go. So that's the adding and subtracting. Now, there is a question by Halal Studio. How you doing, brother? And about pouring on an object such a box. So this would be the question. Rain, I guess, any kind of liquid style thing, pouring on a box and so forth. You could do it. It's going to be a bit clunky using the follow surface. I'm going to do it with a sphere, and I'm going to explain why in a second. So let's go up and let's rotate this, and let's make it look really, really natural, where we have no initial speed and just gravity that pulls this down. The gravity is going to be applied to the particles. This sphere is going to be a simulate collider. And we also need a collide. I don't need to put them here, but I will. So always make sure that the collide comes after the gravity, because otherwise you're going to have more penetration. So, but this is the first thing we can do. We have the collide, right? Now, we want the surface attract here, basically, maybe without the collide. And the particles are going to be attracted by the surface. Of course, depending on the force they have, they're going to potentially fly away. But let's see if we increase the strength here to something ridiculous, totally ridiculous. See what happens. Oh, follow surface? Yeah, really? It's sort of sticking a bit more. I don't know how many zeros I can add to this. And let's set this to 900 or 600. Huh. Yes. Well, it does. It tries to follow. It's just that they're going too fast. And let me damp them a bit. There we go. Now, there you go. So the damping, I think I've put too much of the force up there. But essentially, you just need to damp their speed to achieve that. And it's about just fine-tuning these settings to a certain extent. And whenever you have problems with intersections, sometimes you can go here and increase this to 4, for example, and maybe something is going to work. Maybe I can add another one which says attract. So let's add another surface attract, which is going to be in attract mode. Maybe a combination of these is going to, ooh, that's interesting.
That's cool.
Yeah, so this is basically what you will try to do. And at the bottom, if you're doing something like this, now, mind you, the reason I made this sphere. So this uses normals. And because with objects like a sphere, you have these very rigid normal transitions, you may need to go and fillet your object and add a bit of a fillet, or put some sort of proxy object to do the collisions and make this, let's say, invisible, and create another cube for your render. Because with sharp surfaces, the normals are too abrupt, and it won't follow the surface. But in any case, you can do something like this, and that will be the basis. And always shoot at least 10,000 particles. That's my general advice. Just do that. And the other thing I would do is, of course, add some friction. Just calms things down. Let's not lose our minds. And yeah, something like this. You can add a. I always like to flock things that will cause a bit of bunching up of the particles. Maybe add a bit of cohesion and a bit of separation, and this will cause a bit of clumping, making things appear a bit more watery and so forth. And there's an abundance of things you could do to create an effect like this. Okay.
I feel like if those particles died earlier and you did the what we did way earlier of tossing them into a volume mesher, you could get some really cool effects that look like water wrapping or spilling over something, or fire.
Let's do that.
Interacting with something.
Hashi wants, Hashi gets. That's what we do here. Let me remove this, and let's go to the condition. And I'm going to use a field condition for this. I'm going to use a field condition because it's easier to work with. Let's go on a plus y, no, minus y, because I want the larger value where the arrow is pointing, that little brown arrow, to be downwards. And the threshold for this is usually 50%. That's good enough. So the particles are going to live up to here. And I'm just going to tell these particles, I can pull this out of here because it confuses me terribly, and just kill them when they land. When they find themselves in here, they will just pass away. I'm very sorry for your lost particles. And I can do this, and I can do the mesher. There we go. And boink. What am I doing here? Volume. Basically, I'm losing my mind here. Volume mesher. I'm dragging random things and putting them in random places. So let's go here. And if you have a particle simulation, just make sure that the radius is larger than your voxel size, right? So otherwise, there is nothing for it to create that. And there you go.
So look at that.
SDF smooth, and just make sure, let's say it's Gaussian. And now you have that, and it's sort of running down there. Maybe the erode and dilate and erode always helps in these situations. And of course,
look at that. You've got it's like a Dove popsicle commercial.
This will be great for a SpongeBob story here. There you go. And here's your volume measure. Why is my cube?
Look at that.
Oh yeah, water's running. And you have cartoon water. So yeah, this is, and if you have patience, just a note of caution, right? Because a lot of people will reference other software about, they do huge simulations and do. Yes, they do. But have you ever listened to how long they take? They will wait 72 hours to look at a 15-second liquid simulation. And it's those simulations that win the Academy Awards. But if you have the patience and you have the hardware, and you let Cinema 4D simulate for 72 hours, I'm pretty sure you're going to get some interesting results. I'm not saying equivalent, I'm saying interesting. So this kind of iteration and speed and all that is unprecedented, I would say. Anyhow.
And the fact that you could just have any other object or cloth or rope just collide with that as it exists without having to do anything else, really. It's awesome.
Yep, exactly. So we're done with that. Let's see what other questions popped up over here. I'm just going down.
There are 2 more questions as far as I can see. You can go to the start questions. That will make your life easier.
Randomly growing on the surface of a cube. I need to look at an example. So the question I'm trying, How would you animate black and white stripes randomly growing on the surface of a cube? What do you mean randomly growing?
And what do you mean by stripes? Geometry or texture or?
I would say, I would assume texture, but generally for growth effects, one of the things you can do, and it's fun, and at least it's fun for me. I don't want to speak for everyone else. So just make a plane. So a lot of points, and go and add a vertex map from the other tags and add a vertex map. Okay. Now in the fields, let's see, how can we create some sort of, I guess, looping lines. And, there are a few ways we can do this. We can use a shader field. And in the shader field, we can load a surface tiles, badam, and we can use lines. Good. Now let's change the colors here. So I would assume that this needs to be white. So I need to make it white so it becomes yellow. Terribly confuse these things. And make this black. No, it's not. It's never that one. It's always this one. There you go. So we have these stripes, and you can change the scale. You can change various things. Oh, it doesn't change that way because that was the lateral way. So you can create your little liney things here. What else can you do? We have the ground widths and all that beautiful stuff here. That doesn't even work here. Now let's see if we can grow this in a specific way. So you go here and you say, okay, how do we grow it? Well, you always do growing effects using, oh, and by the way, just in case you thought we couldn't do better, you can take a line with 2 points. Here's a line. If you take an n-gon and put number 2 here, it becomes a straight line. Thank you, Patrick Goski, my dear friend, that taught me this years ago. So make this line, add a cloner, add as many of these lines as you want. So I like to make sometimes my grid lines, although I'm doing a linear reproduction of clones, I like to do it using the grid because this allows me to make them centered. Whereas if you turn this to linear, it will go in one direction, whatever that is. But not object, but with a grid, I can actually do it here. So let's quickly say I want this to be narrower. Now I can use these splines in my vertex because we're creating lines, and I want a point object. And let's take this point object and say surface. Maybe I need to put it under connect object. If nothing works, put it under connect object. If your dishwasher has issues, put it under connect object. If your refrigerator is working too much, put it under a connect object. And it's not working. I hate it when this happens. Here's my connect object. Here are my splines. Okay. Is anyone write a note? Write a note. So let's make this editable. And am I doing something terribly wrong, Jonas? No, I'm not doing something terribly wrong. And I'm going to do not a long, but radius. There you go. That's the effect I was trying to achieve. And the lines here control how much of this where the lines are. But in any case, different ways of doing this. You can do it using objects. You can do it. And now let's grow it. Let's grow it. Let's go and create a freeze layer. Now, the freeze layer is, how would I call it? It's like the Greeks. It has attitude, right? But once you know how to communicate with Greeks, you will love them, right? We're beautiful people. So you set this to grow. And the radius what grow means is that for each and every one of the points of the object over here, so this point has a vertex value, this has a vertex value. It looks 10 centimeters around it. And if it finds another point, it transfers the effect strength. So I'm going to set this to 20 and make this a bit smaller. And what happens, this now accumulates over time because we have the grow. It's going to go whoop, There you go. So you've grown the lines. Now, having said that, there's always a way to randomize this. And EJ made flipping tiles tutorial in the old University that shows this method nicely, but it's good to show it. Now, if you twirl these open, you can see this is the radius subfield. And if you add a random field in that, so you go here and you add it here, what this will do, it will mask the radius. So currently in the freeze layer, this radius is 4 centimeters fixed. But if you put a field under here and say, let's say 10, look at that, it's starting to introduce noise because this random field is changing that amount. And now if you go to this and even add some animation, you will see that the growth becomes more random. And always use a Luca noise for absolutely no other reason, just because it's fun. You can make it bigger, rewind, press play, and you can see, you can create these effects. So now you can use this as a texture, you can use it in a deformer, you can use it in all sorts of different ways. Talking about deformers, let's go and apply a deformer. You know why? Because we can. Let's go point, let's go parameters, always switch to the normal direction, that one over there, and go to the fields and drag this in. Now, make sure that in your vertex map, you turn off use the phone points, because if it's on, then it's going to try to create the vertex map on what the plane deformer is deforming. Always turn this off. Boink. I think I just solved civilization's biggest problems. Look at that. I have inverse erosion. That's great. And if I want to turn it into erosion, I use the inverse of the inverse erosion, and now I can make eroding mountains, which wasn't the original question, but anyhow, I thought I'd show it. So that will be a way to grow things. So knowing how you can make so many fancy lines, splines, textures, and all that, you can start your original vertex map, and then you can use it any way you want. And yeah. So shall we go to dynamics? Other question. How can I data map the age percentage to the randomized radius instead of setting a range for the output radius? I want the radius to go from the current random radius to 0 over its life. You will do that using a similar method I used for growing those things. You will use a math to multiply the radius and using a field. It's exactly the same application of the method. I mean, if I understood the question, let's go and check it out. So let's go here, and what I'm going to do is just emit some static particles. It's easy to work with static particles and a shot if you're setting up your scene, and just a few, 20. And always extend this. Good. Now, here are my particles. Good. Let's go here and show the radius. Now, let's see what we can do here. So you want them to disappear over time. So let's go to the basic emitter properties, radius, and set this, let's say, to 10 with a spread of 8, because why not? There you go. And of course, we can make the emitter bigger or make the particles fewer, but in any case, we have now these particles. And over time, over the age percentage. So if we want to use age percentage, then we need an age. Otherwise, if you have quote unquote infinite age, you can't have infinite age other than myself. Let's say over 200 frames. And you can add a variance because it's going to make things look better. And now let's go and data map this. First of all, no, I'm going to do the math directly. I'm going to do the math. And let's see if we can do that. I'm going to multiply their radius with 1 using a field and put the random thing here. And I don't even know if this is going to work, but maybe it will. Oh, that's too fast. That's actually not bad. So I can go here and say minimum value. I don't want it 0 because they're going to hit a 0 very, very soon. Let's make this 95. Ooh, there you go. And if you animate your noise, let's animate the noise. We may even see some different rates of thing. But anyway, I just answered your question. I feel very proud, and thank you for asking. The only thing you have to do here is just play around with the remapping, and Yeah, you have to go, because when you're multiplying with numbers lower than 1, it will very quickly converge to 0. The limit is 0. So you can play, look, they're going nicely and slowly now, 99.9. If I do it 99, it's significantly slower over their lifetime. Fantastic. And I didn't even use the age percentage. Maybe we can do it with the data mapper. See, now that's what everyone does to me. I'm like, why can't we do it another way? So let's get the age percentage. Damn you. Damn you. Right, let's get the radius. I don't know if this is going to work, but I don't care. I'm going to, can we use the field here? So, no, we can't use the field. Let me reset this and say I'm going to go from 5. Okay. The reason why this is not going to work here is that this sets it. So the minute I do this, they're going to go to 5. Look at that immediately, because their radius is overridden. So that's why, okay, now I understand why my brain said math instead of data mapper. The data mapper will absolutely set values and how they're going to change over time or position and so forth. The data mapper does not take into account the current state of something. It's not its job. The object that does that is the math, because the math, that's why we use the multiply. This is the trick, because we do not care what the existing value is. In this particular case, the radius, we do not care. What we do care is that with every iteration, it's going to be multiplied. And if this number tends to be smaller than 1, they're going to get smaller. If this number tends to be larger than 1, they'll become bigger. And what this means is that if I undo this, if I get rid of that and make the max larger, we may get some particles becoming bigger and some becoming smaller. They're all becoming bigger. I hate that. So 101. Yeah. Look what I did. Pulsating particles, because the noise is moving and then they die. There you go. Here's
That's cool.
a setup for you. Here's a setup. And this is totally random, right? I didn't plan this. And this is how you need to work. Just we do random things. Now I do, let's see.
Yeah, we have to wrap up in a
Oh
few
yeah, I forgot. I
minutes.
thought it was
We're
still, yeah.
we're already quite long on screen. So I'm gonna grab the screen here. I just want to show this last thing about the stripes. So if you want to solve this using geometry, you can always use, so this is a stripe, and I'm using the spline wrap here to wrap this around a spline that is a rectangle spline. And now here you could use the offset then to animate a stripe along this cube. So this would be one solution. I'm pretty sure there are many more, but this is the easiest that I can think of. All right, now let me jump to the housekeeping, because as I said, it's about time. So let me open up this as well. So this is the page, the thanks for joining our live stream page, that you can access if you scan either this QR code, or if you use the link that is quickly gonna be in the chat. And then here, in case you didn't come up with a question now, but you are like, now on the bus, I have a question. And you can go to this site and go down here to ask your question for Ask the Trainer, and just ask your question here. This is going into a database where that we are using to grab questions in addition to the live chat here on the live streams. All right. Other than that, you can use this page to go to the Maxon events page, Training YouTube, Training Team YouTube channel, University, to get your free t-shirt and yeah, let me just quickly go through these links. This is the Maxon events page. You saw them earlier if you joined us from the beginning. Here you can see all the live streams that we're doing and live events that we are attending. Next week on Monday, we will have Alexandru, our product manager for Maxon Studio, on Create with Maxon, and he's gonna talk more about Maxon Studio together with Chad and Max. And also next week on Wednesday, I'm going to do a live stream together with Now, who's a talented artist based in Japan, about creative projects with Maxon One, Substance, and After Effects. So we're going to go through the pipeline. All right. In case you came in late, just go to the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel and hear the recording of this session. Will live at some point in the future, in the near future, and also all the past streams that we did, the previous streams can be found here as the recording. Now, if you want to learn more about all of our little and nice softwares, and also the big ones, you go to cineversity.maxon.net and you find Getting Started series about all our products, but also here now Maxon Studio, recorded by our lovely Chad Perkins. Watch it. It's a great watch. And yeah, other than that.
Wait. Before you close off, I found my mistake. I need to show it. Are you done? I need to show it. It's that thing with a cloner.
Quickly, very quickly.
Yeah, come on. All right. So my mistake was that I replaced an object with a connect. I replaced it, and it was a polygon object in here. It was, look at the connect. This is a polygon object. That's wrong. I have to delete it and drag this so that it asks me if I need a spline object. And now it works. And I think this is even going to work. Yeah, so it was user error. No, I was just testing it. So what am I saying? Right, there you go. Point object, it's not going to work because it thinks this is a mesh object. But if you have the connect, it will identify this correctly as a spline. So make sure that you don't drag the cloner, then just try to replace it. Now this is a spline object and everything's going to work as expected. So yeah, that's the reason. And no one's paying attention, right? That's all I have to say.
I did pay attention. Okay. Back to the show from this little training introduction, intermezzo. So here we are in the Maxon exclusive wear merch store, where you can grab a free t-shirt if you go to this and use this coupon code here, Easy Motion Graphics. Then you will be allowed to order one t-shirt for free and only pay for the shipping. All right. And with that being said, we reached the end of this Ask the Trainer. Thanks everyone for watching. Thank you for answering questions, Noseman and Hashi.
Thank you for asking questions, everybody, including myself.
Absolutely. I love watching you two work. It's awesome.
Yeah. Keep the questions coming. You know where to find the form where you can ask the questions so that we can even prepare some of the questions. That's always a good thing. All right. See you next time, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.